Hi everyone and welcome to this video. My name's Phil and I'm a senior lecturer in astrophysics at the University of Lincoln, and I want to carry on the theme of galaxies, but this time around we're going to have a look at another type of active galactic nuclei, or a galaxy that has an active centre. A little bit similar to the Seyfert galaxies, which I did in the last video. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to recap galaxies, recap your AGN, your active galactic nuclei, and then we're going to carry on from the Seyfert galaxies to explain what these liner galaxies are and how we know they're a liner galaxy, not a Seyfert galaxy or a quasar or something like that. Now, a little bit unusual compared to normal galaxies, but we'll kind of go through and we'll work towards what they actually are and how we can spot one, basically. So just to kind of recap, if you haven't seen any of my previous videos, it's worth kind of just going through this. If you're not sure what galaxies are, it's for those people who've kind of come across these videos without seeing anything else. If you've seen my previous videos or you're happy with what galaxies are, then obviously just skip to the middle end part, really, where you get to find out what these liner galaxies are. So galaxies are these vast systems of stars, gas, dust and dark matter. They're gravitationally bound. Some of those are rotating like a disk, so like your spiral galaxies. Others are more spherical, but they are comprised of stars, gas, dust, dark matter, and different ratios depending on the type of galaxy, how old it is, and things like that, and its size as well. So they do come in quite a variety of sizes. Now all of these here, looking at them, they're all kind of disk-like galaxies in various evolutionary phases, ages, compositions, but we also get different sorts of ones. We get irregular ones, which are kind of distorted, and we also get spherical ones. So they can come in lots of different sizes, like dwarf galaxies, massive ellipticals, as well as the actual shape themselves. Now, there are two main types that I'm just going to cover here. So this is your galaxy classification tuning fork, which if you're studying galaxies, you absolutely will have come across this and you're probably quite familiar. But your spirals sit on the right-hand side where you have the two forks coming off. These are disk-like galaxies. They have spiral arms. As they move from the right to the left, which is how they evolve, so the actual diagram goes from right to left evolutionary wise, the spiral arms get more tightly wound, the central bulges get bigger, and their gas content decreases as it gets formed into stars. The two branches just relate to whether it's a barred spiral along the bottom or a normal spiral. In the middle we actually have intermediate, so they're not quite a barred spiral, they have like a weak bar, so sometimes you might see three forks there, and they're classified kind of on their shape, their composition and things like that. Now ellipticals are classified purely on their shape. These don't have spiral arms, they're smoother in how they look. Essentially they don't have any kind of like unique features like a spiral arm or a bar, anything like that. And these are classified just by their shape, so these are more spherical, they're not disc-like, they're not really rotating like a disc, or they do have some net rotation, but they're not dominated by rotational dynamics. So we have from basically E0 to E7, and I'm missing out the lenticulars in this, but they're where the S0 would be, S0, and they're like a transition point between the two because they share features of both. But it could be, in a separate video I discussed this, that you like your E7, E5, E6 are not elliptical galaxies, they're actually lenticulars that are kind of edge on because they're disc-like and they're very difficult to distinguish. But anyway, that's a different video entirely. Now, we do have this kind of subcategory of galaxies, I suppose. Some of these galaxies have active galactic nuclei. So in the centre of those galaxies, where the supermassive black holes are, they are active. And we would call those AGN, or an active galactic nuclei. So the centre part of the galaxy is very, very energetic, very luminous. And I've zoomed in here, and you can see the actual galaxy itself, the optical image of the galaxy is actually quite small. You've got a supermassive black hole at the centre, but what that black hole produces, its output, can be significantly larger than the galaxy it resides in. So we have this kind of subcategory of active supermassive black holes in the centre of a galaxy. Not all of them have that. You know, our Milky Way, fortunately, does not have that. So if we zoom in right to the centre of one of these galaxies, we have this supermassive black hole, and it basically powers all of the output that we can detect from that galaxy. So where does that emission come from? Well, the first part is going to be from the hot accretion disk. So this is essentially a rotating disk orbiting the supermassive black hole, which is then falling onto the black hole. Now it's heated. The closer it is to the black hole, it's going to be hotter. It gets cooler the further out you are. And then we obviously get an emission from that because it's hot. And as that material falls onto the disk, you then get these high energy jets being emitted perpendicular to the disk. Now the argument here is that these jets are there to limit the spin up of the black hole. You can't just infinitely spin up a black hole, because as that matter on the disk falls onto the black hole, you've got to conserve your angular momentum, and one way for it to shed some of that momentum is to produce these high energy jets so you don't spin up the black hole too much. But obviously that's still an area of research at the moment. That's why we might get these high energy jets perpendicular to the disk. So if we then zoom right back out again on one of these galaxies, the zoomed in section, the yellow box there, is the optical image of the galaxy. And then you've got these massive jets and lobes being produced from that black hole. And these can extend hundreds of thousands of light years beyond the galaxy itself. So they can be significantly larger than the galaxy that they reside in. And the overall bolometric luminosity of the galaxy can be from the actual, what the black hole's outputting, basically, the emission from that black hole. So even in the optical image, it might not look that bright. We look in the radio, the X-ray, something like that, and we've got an enormous amount of energy being produced. So very energetic. Another example here, you're looking kind of edge on at the disk of the galaxy, which is the yellow arrow there. That's the optical image of the galaxy. And then you've got those radio jets and lobes being produced perpendicular to that, which are from the actual black hole. So again, they produce these very large structures. And if we're looking at these AGNs, we can then subclassify those even further by putting them into radio loud and radio quiet. Now, radio loud examples might be things like certain types of quasars. Radio quiet may be like a Seyfert galaxy. And the difference here is that radio loud, you're going to have those big jets and lobes being thrown out by the very active black hole. Radio quiet, they're still very luminous in their center, so they've still got an accretion disk in the center, but they're not producing those enormous powerful jets that we would see in the radio loud galaxies. Now, liner galaxies, which is what this video is all about, are a little bit like Seyferts in the sense that they both lack very strong active galactic nuclei activity. Yes, they're in their center, they're brighter than a normal galaxy, they're more luminous, so they're kicking out more energy in the center parts of the galaxy than a normal galaxy would do, but they're not on the scale of these like quasars and blazars where they're kicking out these large jets as well. So they have the luminous center, but they don't have the extended structures from those jets. So they're quite similar in that sense there. Now, what does it stand for? Well, liners are galaxies that have those fairly faint active nuclei, but their spectrum shows low ionization emission lines. What does that mean? Well, if we heat up some hot gas, it would be hot if we heated it. If we heat up some gas, it's going to then emit at the wavelength of whatever it's composed of. So on this spectrum here, where you've got the wavelength along the x-axis, that's in angstroms, and then you've got the relative intensity, so that's just showing you how intense it is at that particular part of the spectrum. You can see some of those key transition or elements highlighted there. So you've got your H alpha, so H alpha is the kind of in and around where the arrow is pointing actually. So if we've got hot gas, we get emission lines. The low ionization emission line just means that we don't have the same sort of intensity as we would do with, I suppose, high ionization emission lines. Now, you've got a liner galaxy in the center, you've got a Seyfert galaxy at the top, and you can see that the Seyfert galaxy's got stronger relative emission lines from the ionization. So we've got quite low emission lines from our hot gas in these liner galaxies, and that's kind of what they're known as there. Low ionization emission lines galaxies, essentially. but it's focused to the centre part of the galaxy. So this is just a plot really. I've used this in a few videos, and it's different sorts of galaxies or active galactic nuclei that has their power output relative to their distance from us, and I've highlighted where the Low-Ionized and the Seyfert galaxies are. So you're talking fairly similar sorts of luminosity outputs from these two types of galaxies, because they are in some way share similar features. The mechanism for producing the output is not necessarily the same. So they're quite low luminosity. They're generally radio quiet, although they could have some radio, well, they're radio quiet in the terms of AGNs, active galactic nuclei, but they might be classified as radio loud compared to a normal galaxy. Kind of sit somewhere in between. Now, radio loud galaxies sit on that plot where the FR1, FR2 are, because that was a separate video where I looked at the classification for them. But you can see they're kicking out a lot more power relative to the Low-Ionized and the Seyfert galaxies. So, why have they got low ionization emission lines? Well, there's actually two sort of arguments here, and it could be that there's actually two processes and there's two subtypes of these sorts of galaxy. Now, the first one might be that they are still powered by hot gas near the supermassive black hole. They're just not producing those powerful jets, so a little bit similar to your Seyfert galaxies. And because you just don't have the quantity of gas there, the accretion rates, maybe the black hole mass is lower, you get very weak emission lines. You just don't get those powerful jets. So it could be that they're kind of similar in process to the Seyfert galaxies, or they could be powered by star formation. So if you've got stars forming in a nebula, so if you've got a telescope and you manage to look at some really nice nebulas, for example the Orion Nebula, you'll see bright blue stars, and then you'll see them hopefully in this like luminous cloud. Now when you have very hot massive stars with gas around them, they actually can heat that gas up. That gas then emits at its own wavelength. We get our ionization emission lines from that, so that would be like an emission nebula. So we could be getting those lines from star forming regions, but the key thing here is all galaxies, well not all galaxies, that's a lie, specifically kind of star forming galaxies like this galaxies are going to have star formation occurring in them. So why is this a Low-Ionized galaxy and not a normal galaxy? Well, the star formation and the ionization is typically focused toward the center part of the galaxy, the nuclei. Hence why we would classify these as an AGN and not a normal galaxy. A normal galaxy, we would expect to have star formation occurring pretty much all within the disk itself. Can be focused in the spiral arms because that's kind of where the gas gets compressed and then the stars form from gravitational collapse. But it might be that it's all over the disk as opposed to being centered in the nuclei instead. So that's kind of what sets them out apart. It's either star formation occurring in the center part or it's the active black hole. But even taking all that into account, they are relatively similar in power output and things like that to the Seyfert galaxies, so we would classify those as radio quiet. So thank you for watching. Hopefully that kind of gives you an idea what these Low-Ionized galaxies are, but if you find it helpful or you enjoy the videos, then do consider becoming a member of the channel. That obviously helps support the channel, but we do have extra videos in the members section. So thanks for watching.